1783 Peace Treaty and the American Revolutionary War. British and U.S. delegates ratified the Paris Treaty on September 3, 1783. As a result, this effectively ended the 8-year-long American Revolutionary War, 1775 to 1783, and paved the way for the United States of America's independence from Great Britain. The newly established U.S. and France formed an alliance to combat Great Britain during the American Revolution. French and U.S. delegates signed two independent treaties in February 1778, the Treaty of Alliance and the Treaty of Amity and Commerce. Ultimately, the British fleet was later captured at Yorktown in 1781. Nonetheless, the war continued because Britain refused to recognize peace. The Americans stood firm, insisting that complete independence was the only way to achieve peace. The U.S. and the British commissioners reached an agreement to end the war in 1782. Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, and John Jay represented the U.S., while David Hartley supported Great Britain during the negotiation. The American negotiators demonstrated their readiness for the international stage by achieving the majority of the goals that the new U.S. sought. Following several peace talks, the U.S., Spain, and France formally ended the war with Britain, resulting in the 1783 Treaty of Paris. The Treaty of Paris recognized the U.S. as an independent state identified by individual countries. Besides, this was always what Americans desired, and it fulfilled their need to be independent and free states. The treaty gave the U.S. rights to fisheries in Canada, and they had the freedom to get any fish they wanted. It recognized the new United States of America's borders. Both America and Britain were granted access to the Mississippi River. Furthermore, the peace treaty required that all debts incurred between the United Kingdom and the U.S. before the war be paid off. The treaty called for the surrender of all British posts within the U.S. territory, effectively ending hostilities between the two countries. On the other hand, Spain received its North American holdings, such as Spanish Florida, which it had lost in the 7 Years' War. The British were to obtain all the land and/or property that were taken from them during the war back. Despite losing its American colonies, Britain benefited greatly from the early Industrial Revolution's economic growth, which helped ensure the development of British global power. Although the treaty met the needs and wants of the countries involved in the conflict with Britain, it failed them in many ways. For instance, it made an incomparable, unforgettable impression, guaranteeing the United States' status as a world power. The French diplomats felt betrayed by the United States. They believed that the United States' terms were too generous since they benefited the most compared to the other treaty signatories. However, France gained due to the French Revolution due to enormous financial costs and attempts to resolve the financial crisis. Even though the treaty acknowledged peace between Britain and the U.S., their relationship remained strained because of the absence of trade relations. Furthermore, several border regions were left undefined, further causing disputes. Furthermore, the treaty shows significant British disloyalty to their Indian allies in North America, who were to suffer alone in U.S. territory and without any further military assistance from the European power. Many consequences arose due to the 1783 Peace Treaty of Paris. For instance, the British refused to give up several forts in the recently departed Northwest Territory. Consequently, the Americans seized assets from residents who had stayed faithful to the British during the battle. Ultimately, this called for the signing of the Jay Treaty in 1794 to solve the issues between Great Britain and the U.S.